On today's show, the Atlanta Hawks have their NBA Cup run come to an end on this Saturday evening in Las Vegas. The defense was awesome. The offense was not, and we'll get into all of how it unfolded and more coming up.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 1867 of the Locked On Hawks podcast. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Saturday evening. It's really almost Sunday morning at this point in time, live from Las Vegas. And today's podcast is brought to you by the folks at Robinhood Gold. Robinhood Gold brings the privileges of the high net worth for any net worth. These benefits are now available generously for $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. I also want to encourage you to make us your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Hawks podcast. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts, including on YouTube, and like the video as you are watching it. And we'll dive in now to what became a 110-102 loss for the Hawks out here in the desert in the semifinals of the NBA Cup. They did perform, I would say, admirably in this game. They were competitive all the way through. It was a rematch, of course, of the game about 10 days ago when the Hawks won in an upset in Milwaukee. The Hawks were 3.5-point underdogs in this game at FanDuel Sportsbook. They were down by 10 points in the first half at one point after a woeful stretch with the bench on the floor and Trae Young off the court. But they battled back. It was a close game really the entire way after that. They were never in full control. The Hawks did lead this game by 6 points at one point in the second half. They just could not score enough in the fourth quarter and really for most of the night. So I want to begin there as far as like why this game happened. But broadly speaking, I will say this. The NBA Cup and all of the unfolding traits of it, it's the the nuances of it, all that stuff. It's only in its second season. The Hawks embraced it quite a bit in the last couple of weeks. Part of that is that, as Bogey said the other day, kind of tongue in cheek, when you're winning, it's a little bit easier to embrace it. But Quinn likes it, and the Hawks played well. I think it was a success, obviously, for Atlanta to reach the semifinals and also not to be blown off the floor. If they got to Vegas and got killed, maybe less so. But it was a playoff level game tonight. And the Hawks were right there with a team that is pretty good and has a great player on it with Giannis, et cetera, et cetera. So broadly, I would say there's some optimism moving forward with the way the Hawks have been playing in recent days, particularly in the Cup. But in this game, it was all too familiar with the offense in recent days. The Hawks ended up this game with a 98.1 offensive rating in the game. And if you are unfamiliar, that is very poor. The worst team in the league is better than that on a nightly basis, basically, offensively. It was their third worst offensive rating of the season here in game 27. So that kind of tells you where they are. And the other two games that they were worse than this offensively on a per possession basis led to two blowouts. So it's actually a tribute to their defense that this game was even close, because when they had been worse than this, they were blown out by Boston in the first game against the Celtics, and then by Golden State on the road in a game that just kind of let go of the rope a little bit. So that kind of tells you how good the defense was in some respects. But offensively, the single biggest issue was the 2-point shooting, actually. A lot of focus always, including by me, on the 3-point line. But Atlanta was 43.1% inside the arc in this game. For comparison's sake, the league average is about 54%. So that kind of tells you how rough that actually is. The league also tracked this. The Hawks were 21 of 50 in the paint. That's 42%. And in general, paint shots are supposed to be easier than non-paint shots from 3-point range. So they were even worse in the paint than they were outside the paint from 2-point range. And some of that is on Milwaukee having a big-time rim protector, Brook Lopez, who is a monster. He was quite good in this game, I thought, for the Bucks. Plus Giannis on the back end as a secondary rim protector, all that stuff. And Quinn, basically everyone from Quinn to Trae after the game was discussing how the Hawks just missed some shots that they were makeable. And I tend to agree with that to some degree. But I think, still, this is a team that's struggled. There were some spacing concerns, for example. They did shoot well from three in this game, 10 of 24, but just not enough attempts. The Bucks were feeding them, I think, correctly into the paint, and the Hawks did take advantage of that to some degree. Just couldn't make them pay, even on some pretty good looks around the rim. Another part of the poor shooting in this game was the free throw line, actually. On the bright side, they were able to generate 34 attempts. That's actually a lot of attempts for this Hawks team. Only a couple times all year had they been actually taking more than that in a game. In fact, I think that was their fourth most attempts of the season from the line. But they only made 22 of them, which was their third worst accuracy game at the line this year, 65%. Now, 2 of those misses were in the final seconds. They were not really meaningful, but even before that, 10 missed free throws in a game that was pretty close can bite you. And the Bucks missed a lot of free throws too, but the Bucks is basically Giannis missing all those free throws for the Hawks. It wasn't like it was Capella. He missed the 2 at the very end, but guys that are supposed to be good free throw shooters missed free throws. Jalen missed 2, Trae missed 3 out of 17, which is not so bad. Dyson missed 3, Hunter missed 2. Like, just margin stuff that kind of comes into handy when you're talking about a close game. And sometimes when the Hawks miss shots, they end up crushing the glass on offense. There's been a strength of theirs this season. That did not happen in this game. They didn't lose the glass, but neither team made a dent really at all in second chance points. They did take care of the ball well, actually, which is usually a bellwether for this team. When they don't turn the ball over, they actually play pretty well, but the shooting was just too rough to overcome. And as I'll probably get into later on again, Trae was really awesome for most of the night. But Jalen was not his best in this game. Part of that probably is the ankle. I asked Jalen after the game about his ankle, and he kind of gave a long pause before saying it wasn't an excuse. To me, that was an indication he was not exactly 100% in this game. Dyson had a pretty rough offensive game, even though he was awesome on defense. Trae was the only starter that made a three in the game, which it's not everything, but that kind of tells you a little bit about the spacing concerns. And it didn't help that Hunter was not his best either shooting the ball tonight. So if Trae wasn't superhuman in the third quarter, the offense would have been totally unhinged in this game. It's hard to win when they had that kind of, inefficiency overall. So the Hawks were competitive. It's a credit to them that this game was close, but they was just not good enough offensively. I think they all knew that. And part of that shot making, all that stuff, it's a one game sample size. There's going to be some variance there, but it wasn't good enough offensively from basically almost anyone except for Trae in this one. Defensively, they're really good. I mean, no one wants to hear that, but they really were a 105 defensive rating in this game. They're 7-2 in the last 9 games, the Hawks are, and they have a 109 defensive rating in that sample. That's like 7th in the league. They've been playing not just okay, legitimately good defense. And Trae gave a quote post-game to me, actually asked the question, talking about how like defense is going to kind of be there, what carries them moving forward. That's not an exact quote, but it was, I tweeted it out, but it was one of those like very candid, like defense is kind of what's got them here right now. And offense is going to come. I believe that. I think they do too. But it's been the defense that's leading the surge in a lot of different ways for the Hawks. The Bucks did shoot well, at least better than the Hawks did inside the arc, but the Hawks kept Dame in check this game. Part of that is Dyson Daniels being awesome, but Giannis was like not like going absolutely nuts. They won the free throw battle. The Hawks were incredible on the defensive glass in this game. Milwaukee had one second chance point in the game. One. That is incredible defensive rebounding from the Hawks. The only weakness really on the stat sheet was their transition defense. But as I often would say, and Quinn says this too, like a lot of that comes from missing shots and then not scoring offensively, because when you don't score, the Heat goes under defense to get back. Milwaukee had a 91 offensive rating in the half court. So the Hawks were great defensively when it was actually set. You got to get back to, there was maybe a couple of times where it was not great execution, but I thought as a whole, the Hawks played as well as they could have reasonably expected to play on defense in this game. They just couldn't do enough offensively to make up for it. But, again, big picture, it's not like I'm trying to excuse it. Like these guys are pros. Like you want to win this game. They were not happy about it. Quinn even said, just like, obviously you could see if you watch the game, the Hawks cared about the NBA Cup. They wanted to win this thing. They thought they could. I thought they had a chance. I mean, they would have been an underdog to probably either team, but especially to Oklahoma City. But it is what it is. Like the Hawks had a chance here. They played well enough. They seem to be like, there are different kinds of reactions to losses. I've been in some pretty dour locker rooms in the last 14 years. This wasn't one of those. Like they were frustrated for sure, but I think they know that they're playing pretty well and it's a good foundation for the future. This is a young team. They're defending for the first time in 4 years, basically at a high level. So a lot of positives to take from this one. I know that not everyone will celebrate that, but it's one of those where like, I think this is a loss that it's not one to just like throw things about. I think they played well. That does not mean you shot well. They played pretty well on the whole, and shots didn't fall. But they were right there all the way to the end, and a good place to kind of leave that in the first segment. All right, in a second, we'll dive into how it unfolded and really how offensively they just wasn't quite enough. I'll have some more stats, more observations, and more analysis coming up on that front in just one moment. Today's show is brought to you by Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you do not need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold also allows you to get rates and perks usually reserved for the high society and now the resourceful individual. With Robinhood Gold, you earn a very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth, and these generous benefits are now available for only $5 per month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. That's Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risks. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. This show is sponsored by Betterhelp. How do you stay cozy during the winter months? For some people, it might be wrapping up in a blanket with a mug of hot chocolate, and for others, it could be watching a movie with family as the best way to spend the month of December. Therapy is a great way to bring yourself some comfort that never really goes away, even when the seasons change. Therapy can also be helpful for everyone. You can learn positive coping skills, how to set better boundaries, and much more. And they can also empower you at BetterHelp to be the best version of yourself. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try right now. It's entirely online, and BetterHelp is designed to be convenient and flexible. It's even suited to your schedule, which is huge if you're navigating time crunches like I happen to be when I have so many jobs. That schedule flexibility is massive at BetterHelp. And all you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba. Get 10% off your first month with BetterHelp. One more time, the place to go is BetterHelp. That's BetterHelp, betterhelp.com/lockedonnba. It's been a theme recently that the Hawks have had some rough starts, even games that they actually won, and this was the same tonight. They were down 7-0. They missed their first 6 shots. They didn't, even in the Milwaukee game where they won 10 days ago, they didn't do that well at the beginning either. They did get back into it right after that. The Bucks missed like 5 shots in a row. I thought Capella was walling off the rim as he was the entire game, really, at the early point in this one. They had this extended 18-5 run. It took forever to have the Hawks take the lead. And Trae was responsible for the first 18 points in the game for Atlanta. 9 points and 4 assists. He made the first 3, 6 free throws, a couple of layups that he passed to. Like, he was really dominant from the word go, basically, in this one offensively for Atlanta. But I said this a little bit earlier, but in the first 7 or 8 minutes, I'm pretty sure there was exactly one field goal by either team that I would describe as being in the half court. No one could score when the ball was not being flown down the floor in transition, basically. There was 9 of 31 combined shooting from the two teams to begin the game. The Hawks had a couple of breakdowns, I thought, defensively that were not punished early on by Milwaukee. That stabilized a little bit later. Rotationally, nothing really surprising other than, they played Vit Krejci for the 4th straight game as the backup point guard. But even then, Vit played 5 minutes and Trae played about 39 or 40. So they played like 3 or 4 minutes without a point guard on the floor. It was Dyson and Jalen at that point in time. I thought they might go to an 8-man rotation in this game, and they effectively did. I know Vit played a little bit, but it was mostly they chopped things down. It was a quote unquote must win game or whatever for the cup. So they went a little bit shallower there. People keep asking about Kobe Buffkin. I said something that I've been saying the last couple of weeks, or at least the last week plus. I think he'll be playing again soon enough. The Hawks have not given a straight answer on why he's not playing. My read is that it's NBA Cup, and they wanted to put their best foot forward. And Vit's a little bit more stable than Kobe is, maybe. But the offense was weak with Trae off the floor. No denying that. I might have tried Kobe, but I understand why they didn't do that necessarily. It was a little bit more offensive focused late in the first quarter. Bogey had a couple shots for the Hawks. The Bucks made some jump shots. But the start of the second quarter was really things that got off the rails a little bit for the Hawks. With Trae on the bench, Milwaukee went on a 12-0 run to begin the quarter. Now, Trae being on the bench did not make AJ Green hit 2 threes, and he's actually, I would say this, Green's actually a pretty good player, but the offense was listless. They didn't score for 6 straight trips down the floor. It's been a theme at times this year, and it was rough in that moment. Now, the Hawks didn't just totally collapse without Trae after that, but that first little stretch gave the lead away, et cetera, et cetera. The offense kind of just staggered in the middle of the first half, I would say. Dyson had his worst offensive half in a long time, which didn't help things. Neither did Jalen. Those guys weren't alone, but it was kind of rough. It also felt like it was glacially slow paced late in the first half because Giannis got to the line 5 times in a row, it felt like, and just he takes forever, and it was just a slow bleed. They were teetering a little bit, I thought, at the end of the half. Then Trae pulled out one of his bag of tricks and drew a 3-shot foul, which was very important in that moment in time. They were down 6 because they just didn't shoot well. I mean, it was even worse in the first half than the second half, honestly, on the whole. They were 9 of 27, so 33% on twos, 7 of 24 in the paint in the first half, and only down by 6. And also, they missed their last 7 shots before halftime. So, what are you going to do? Defensively, it was even better in the first half than the second. They allowed 55 points on 55 possessions. So the pace was faster in the first half, but still, they clamped down. They really did defensively. Now, the third quarter was the Trae Young exhibition, basically. He was excellent in the third. He was really good the entire game, but he turned the pace up a little bit, looking to score. He had 14 points in 9 minutes, made 6 of 7 from the field, had 2 or 3 really high-level finishes around the rim, made 2 threes. He also had this awesome possession that was making the rounds on social media defensively that I pointed out in real time, where he sprinted cross court to make a closeout on AJ Green, ran him off the line, and then blocked his shot a few seconds later. It was a great possession by Trae. Obviously, it's one possession. You want to overdo it, but Trae's defense has been better and better and better, and that was a good example of that. I thought it was one of the best cores he's played all year long, honestly. He was excellent there, and a huge part of why the Hawks were able to take a lead at the end of the third quarter. Okong made 2 threes. That was nice to see. Jalen scored late. He had a very, very soft technical foul that I absolutely hated in this kind of very competitive setting. Like, come on, what are we calling that for? Anyway, it was an awesome offensive quarter for the Hawks. It was their one time in this game they were actually offense focused, was the third quarter. And it was almost entirely because Trae was just unconscious and out of his mind in that period. So they're up by 1 going to the fourth quarter, and they held up okay with Trae on the bench. They only were down by 1 when he came back in. That's totally fine. They traded buckets for a long time. They were down by 1 coming out of a mid-quarter timeout, and they had a mistake where they had Dyson on the bench, which I'm okay with, but they gave up an open 3 immediately. Granted, it was to Andre Jackson, who's not a great shooter, but it was too open for it. Just kind of broke down a little bit. And it seemed like Milwaukee clearly targeted Bogey and made him the help guy, and that Bogey kind of overdid it, got stuck under the rim, et cetera, et cetera. Quinn challenged his foul call on Jalen Johnson that I know why he challenged it. It was a call I didn't like. I thought it was marginal contact, but it was also, and also the call was really late. It's one of those where, like, if the shot goes in, the ref wouldn't call it because Giannis missed the shot. They called the foul. Quinn challenges it, and it's like, you're not going to win that. I get why you did it. So it's like, you got to be more selective potentially, but they burn a timeout there, etc. They got back within 1, actually had a shot in the air for the lead from Hunter with 5 minutes to go, and they never led again after that. After timeout, they scored 1 point on 3 possessions at a bad time, and the Bucks scored 5 points on 3 possessions, and you're down by 7 suddenly with 3 minutes to go. That was the first time they've been down by 7 points in like a quarter and a half, basically. Now, they got back into it. They were actually within 3 again at 103-100 when Trae broke the paint and made a floater to cut it to 3. They needed to stop. They didn't get it. Then Trae set up a wide open 3 for Jalen Johnson. So here's where the game swung for me. Trae scores. It's within 3. They give up a bucket at the rim. Tough scene there. But they have a wide open shot from Jalen Johnson in the left corner. He just short arms it a little bit, hits the front rim, and that was a big swing. Now, the Bucks did actually get a couple of favors to the Hawks, I would say, late in the game. A really bad inbounds pass for a turnover, and the margin was still 5. The door was open, but it was never closer than 5 down the stretch. They missed 3 straight jump shots. That Jalen won, and then Trae missed 2 in a row, one of which was a really good shot, actually. Like, they're down by 5. Like, you got to kind of hurry. He got a good look at a 3. He just missed it, which he said after the game, like, it's a good shot. I agree. The one before that was not my favorite shot in the world. It was a one-on-one possession with Trae versus Giannis. Kind of a long 2, like makeable for Trae. Not a great shot, I didn't think, but regardless, they missed 3 straight jump shots. It's kind of a perfect for the game. Honestly, they just couldn't make a shot. And in the fourth quarter, some grisly numbers here to sign off this segment of the podcast. In the fourth quarter, they scored 19 points. 19 points in the quarter. That's all you I honestly could stop there. I'm not going to, but I could. They also had a offensive rating. I'm trying to find the number now. Yeah, they had an offensive rating in the fourth quarter of 71. So that is kind of the game right there. They shot 5-16 from the floor. They were 8 of 14 from the line. So they missed 6 shots from the line in the fourth quarter. Granted, again, 2 of them were in the final seconds when the game was over, but still 8 of 12 before that. Not great. 4 turnovers, just didn't do anything well. Trae had 9 points in the fourth. It wasn't like he was non-existent, but they didn't get a lot of shots. And people asked me, could they have gone with more Bogey? They played Bogey. Bogey played 7 minutes in the fourth quarter. He was out there. I thought they were going to close with Okongwu because they brought Capella back in early. They did bring Okongwu back in a little bit, but it was Capella mostly the way. Now, that helps your defense. It might hurt your offense a little bit. So I'm open to second guessing there. I didn't hate it, but I get why people were asking that question. And Bogey was okay, and Dyson wasn't probably great on offense, but I get why you want to take Dyson off. You got Dyson out there to guard Damian Lillard, and you kind of have to have that. So no issues there. Just didn't execute at the end of the game, and we'll leave it there for now. Okay, more to come on the player-by-player evaluations, headlined by Trae, but we'll get into kind of the guys who struggled, like maybe Trae and Dyson, etc., in just one moment. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Get on the action and NFL, NBA, etc., and much more this season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, if you're a new customer, you can bet $5, you get $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. The FanDuel Sportsbook app is really easy to use. It gives you everything that you actually need to place your bets all in one place. And they have also, if you're looking for across the sports betting space, from over-unders to point spreads, money lines, player props, and game props. They have future bets, same-game parlays. They have live betting, exotics, and much more. The FanDuel Sportsbook app is also safe and secure. They cover the entire range of sports as well. That includes the NBA, which we focus on heavily on this podcast, including right now, NBA Cup coverage, etc., plus the NFL, college football, MLB, WNBA, hockey, golf, tennis. They have all kinds of soccer leagues, domestic and international. They have auto racing, which means F1 and NASCAR, etc., boxing, MMA, and so much more. And now is the awesome time to sign up with Books and FanDuel Sportsbook. The place to go is FanDuel.com to get started with 150. Yes, 150 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com, $150 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, we'll get into the player-by-player evaluations now. And 9 guys played for the Hawks. Again, only about an 8.5-man rotation. We played 5 minutes in the game. Didn't take a shot or have a rebound, assist, steal, block, etc. Had 2 fouls. Veit was not terrible, but defensively he had some trouble. There was one stretch in the second quarter where they played without Dyson or Trae, and Dyson was on the bench with Dame on the court. I didn't love that. It didn't work out very well for the Hawks, but what are you going to do? Veit was just kind of out there. I don't think he was terrible, just didn't do a ton. Bogey didn't play a lot. 24 minutes for him is actually fine. 10 points on 7 shots. He's one of the only guys who actually made shots in this game. Defensively, of course, he's their weak link. Maybe not worse than Trae, but him and Trae are the two that you have to worry about for the Hawks right now defensively. I thought Bogey was okay. Could have maybe tried him more, but they didn't want to do that necessarily. Hunter wasn't bad. He just didn't shoot it well. He was 2 of 10 on twos. Just some, he, I think maybe was the poster child for like makeable shots in this one, like a bunch of like 7-footers that he just normally makes or makes more than that he did tonight. 36 from 3 though, 15 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Like I thought he played fine defensively. He was fine. Like played pretty well. Just didn't get shots to go down inside the arc. Okongwu, 8 points, 3 rebounds in 19 minutes. Made 2 threes, but actually 0 of 3 on 2s. Same thing. Like nobody could make a 2 in this game. I thought Ageka was pretty good actually. They were plus 3 his minutes. Like I don't think that's necessarily because of him, but yeah, I thought he played fine. The bench was okay. Just that one stretch without Trae in the second quarter that you want to circle. I thought Capella was really excellent defensively in this one. 6 points, 8 rebounds, 4 blocks, and a steal for Clint in 29 minutes. Really anchoring very well. That's been the theme of him all year long. People are kind of noticing that more and more now, which I think is encouraging. But I think he was really good around the rim. A couple of huge denials at the rim. His season high in blocks, which isn't everything, but still notable there. Offensively, kind of I would say up and down game for Clint. Actually had one circus finish that was actually very impressive. But beyond that, a couple of missed bunnies, or not necessarily open shots, but like the little hooks that he takes, etc. Not his best game offensively, but I thought he was good on defense. Ricochet didn't play in the fourth quarter at all. 2 points in 17 minutes. He just, he's a rookie, but I think it was a rookie night for Ricochet. I think defensively he was fine, but offensively he just didn't do much of anything, honestly, which is not a huge knock on him. It's just that he got marginalized in a hurry. It was more of Hunter, which makes sense. Hunter's just better than him, but it's, I thought he was a rookie out there, and not in a punitive way. I thought he was okay. Just didn't do a ton to pop off the screen. Dyson, on the positive side, I thought Dyson was, again, awesome, as he always is defensively. He really was making life miserable for Dame at times. Had only 1 steal, but had a block. He held Dame to 8 of 21 from the field. Yeah, he's just excellent there. I don't have much to add other than that. But offensively, it was one of his worst games in a while, I think. He was not necessarily passive, but kind of just weird decision-making. He did have 3 turnovers in this one. Did actually shoot 5 of 7 from 2, which is one of the only guys that did make shots inside the arc. But he was 0 of 3 from 3 and missed 3 free throws in the game. He'll have better nights. He was better in the second half, I thought, overall than the first, but just kind of weirdly not effective on offense. Jalen Johnson was the same. He was kind of better after halftime, about 15 points on 15 shots. He was 0 of 4 from 3. Missed 2 free throws, had 4 assists. That's actually fine, but 10 rebounds. He was still fine, but he did not have a great game. In fact, I believe the word that he used unprompted after the game was terrible about how he played. I wouldn't say that, but he was frustrated. I asked him about his ankle. I think he didn't use it as an excuse, but I think if you watch the response in video, you might agree with me. I think it was an excuse. I don't think he didn't play. Not that he gave one, but I think he didn't play with his most physicality in this one. And look, it's one of those things where like you watched him turn his ankle on Wednesday. I wonder if he would have played if it wasn't a cup game. I don't know the answer to that, but he didn't look like he was 100% physically ready to go out there. He played hard the whole time. I'm not saying that, but it's not his typical burst, and not terribly effective in this one. Like, just to answer the question everybody was asking me during the game, I thought the Hawks had a pretty bad whistle in this one. Not like egregious, but one of those where like the whistle, the style of whistle maybe favored Milwaukee, because Milwaukee was just allowed to play with a lot of physicality, and that did not translate well to Atlanta at times. Jalen was a party of that. But yeah, I don't think it was very good for him. He was still an effective player. And at the end of the game, I think it kind of had to be a lot of Trae, and that's Trae was fine. It just wasn't like they have that. Jalen wasn't that clear number 2 that he has been at times this year. Speaking of Trae, like Trae was awesome. I don't want to glow too much here in a loss, but 35 points, 10 assists, 7 rebounds for Trae. He was 6 of 13 on 2, which is actually totally fine for him. 3 of 5 from 3, 14 of 17 at the line. That's a season high, I believe, in attempts for Trae. He got to the line a lot in this game. He pulled out the bag of tricks. He was really awesome, especially in the third quarter, but really the whole night. He is now, by the way, this is a couple of stats here from Hawks PR. He now has 13 games this year of 20 and 10. That's the most in the league this season. He has this is his 83rd game with 30 and 10 in his career, 5th most of all time, and he is 26 years old. So some good stuff there. Plus the assist streak continues. I thought Trae was really good in this one. Like, you want to overstate it, but I think it's good for just perception reasons. Well, it doesn't really matter that much, but Trae's, I believe, firmly underrated at this point. And I think maybe a good reminder to the national public that Trae is still awesome. He was great in this game. So yeah, it's a loss. It wasn't like he was excited about it after the game, but he did give some, I thought, very appropriate quotes about the defense and how, it's encouraging in the NBA Cup and like the way they're playing, the way they want to play. Like everybody was, I think it was the right tone after the game from Trae. Jalen was frustrated with himself, but he was okay, relatively speaking. Quinn, like the Hawks feel okay about this. They obviously wanted to win, but overall, I'll say it one more time. I think the NBA Cup schedule, all that stuff this year for the Hawks was a big time success. They're playing better basketball. They're now 14 and 13 on the year. That's fine. And they've improved quite a bit. They're playing well right now. And knock on wood for health and all that stuff. Okay, that's all I have on this particular game. What I will say is the Hawks now are off for a while. They don't play a game until Thursday. Now, part of the NBA Cup scheduling is that a lot of teams are giving it's kind of a light schedule for a lot of teams. Now, they could have played Tuesdays. They couldn't schedule them a game. And now they have 82 games on the schedule. If they'd won this game and gone to the final, it would have been game 83 for them on the year. So there's no backup game. They're playing San Antonio on Thursday. So that means they have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday without a game. I'm sure they'll be off tomorrow. They're on the West Coast, long flight home, probably off tomorrow, but they could probably get a practice or 2 in and then prepare for, it's actually a 1-game road trip to the Spurs on Thursday. And then they come back home for 4 games in a row at home. And then they have a very long West Coast trip around the end of the year and the beginning of January. So plenty to get to. I will have podcast content between now and Thursday. I don't know how many episodes or when, but they will be there. This is a weekend episode that we're doing right now, Saturday night and Sunday morning. So probably not until at least Monday afternoon, evening, at the very earliest, but we'll see if something happens and I might break it down. Also, Sunday is the unofficial start of trade season, which in fact, there were trades that happened today that can't go until tomorrow. Guys that are allowed to be traded tomorrow. Dennis Schroeder, old pal, got traded today to the Warriors. Like, we're kind of in trade season now. Questions about Cody Zeller, all those things are going to happen in the next few days, I promise you. But in the meantime, a good run for the Hawks. They lose here, but nothing to hang their heads about necessarily in this spot. So if you're a new listener, hopefully you found the show for the first time today. I appreciate you listening to the podcast. Hopefully you stick around. Please subscribe. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, etc. We do this all the time. I do 5 episodes-ish per week during the season. This is episode 1867 of the podcast, and that doesn't even include the bonus stuff. So we are very busy on the show. If you're a new listener also, you might see another audio episode on the audio side from the Locked On Sports postcast. That's from Locked On Sports Atlanta. That's not me, but it's on the feed audio-wise. They have their own YouTube channel. It's kind of a quicker reaction show, and then I usually record and post after them after games. So keep that in mind. It's the same feed, but it's not me. Just not anything less from me, just extra stuff there on the audio-only feeds. Please follow the show on Twitter/X at Locked On Hawks. Follow me there at BT Rowland. And then I am also at Blue Sky at BT Rowland. And please follow my non-podcast work, extra audio, writing stuff at patreon.com/BT Rowland. All right. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. We'll have podcast content later on this week at some point between now and the game on Thursday. And we'll see you all next time.